Hi there, and welcome to our podcast, Friends Across Borders, in which we talk about intercultural differences by telling our own stories and experiences and invite guests from all over the world. We are your hosts, Amanda,
Jiyong.
and this is our pilot episode. First, let's introduce ourselves shortly. So, my name is Amanda. This week, I will be 24 years old. I am Dutch, I live in the Netherlands, and I am almost finished with my bachelor studies, Oriental Languages and Communication. What about you, Jiyong?
I'm Jiyong. I'm 26 years old. I'm a Korean teacher, online Korean teacher, and that is how we met. We met on the platform called italki. Yeah. Oh,
Yes.
and I live in Korea.
Important little facts.
Important.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so why did we start this podcast? It all started when I got the assignment from my university to create, some kind of creative assignment, which meant creating a documentary or a podcast or a video. And then I thought, a podcast, that sounds like a lot of fun. And I've always wanted to make a podcast, but I didn't want to do it alone. And I wasn't really sure what I wanted the podcast to be about.
Mm-hmm.
And then I heard that Jiyong also wanted to make a podcast, but also didn't want to do it alone. So I was bold enough to ask her to join me and to be my fellow host and to create an entire podcast together.
And I said yes.
She said yes.
I said yes, yeah. Because I've tried the podcast by myself alone already, but kind of failed because I didn't know what to talk about, and all the episodes were too short. So I deleted the whole podcast, and I wanted to restart with someone else. And then I'm grateful that Amanda asked me first. Yeah, and
Yay!
Yeah,
I'm
we
grateful that you wanted to join.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay. Then
I am curious about your previous podcast a little
Ooh.
bit. Sadly, that you deleted it.
Don't listen to it. Even if you found, don't listen to it. It's horrible.
Ooh.
Yeah. I don't know. Somebody have listened already. Yeah. And then so first thing we did is that to choose the name of the podcast. So, the name of the podcast is, what is it, Amanda?
Friends Across Borders.
Yeah.
And it took a while until we got to this name. We had an entire list of ideas. We also asked our social media friends what they thought would be a nice name for a podcast, and eventually it became Friends Across Borders. So let me explain the meaning behind the name. I think it already speaks for itself, but Friends Across Borders for us means that you can become friends with anyone. Even if this person lives on the other side of the globe, even if this person has a completely different culture or religion from your own. It is always possible to become very good friends. And physical, cultural, or religious borders should not be stopping us from making friends.
Yeah.
That's the meaning behind the name.
Yeah. I totally believe that we can make any friends in the world, right? And
yes.
Yeah.
And Jiyong and I are also friends across borders.
Even though we never met before.
No, we will soon though. When I go to South Korea in a few months, we will meet.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Very soon.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And then, Jiyong, can you maybe tell our listeners what the goal of our podcast is?
The goal. Yeah, the goal of this podcast is not only teach people more about intercultural differences, but we also talk about our own experiences For example, how we feel while we're learning some other languages, for example, yeah. And then we can share some valuable tips on how to start and maintain the friendship we've made. Yeah, these tips
Yeah.
can be helpful in the work field as well.
True, yeah. It can also help learning how to communicate better with your colleagues who might have a different cultural background. So we hope that by making this podcast, we can also take away some false stereotypes that people might have about certain countries or cultures. And this podcast is really for anyone who wants to learn more about different cultures or countries in a fun way, because we'll mostly be talking about our own experiences, our own opinions, and our own knowledge that we currently already have. We do some research online, of course, but it's not going to be a boring podcast. We want to keep it casual and fun, and we're going to invite a lot of guests from all over the world who will also talk about their own experiences, about their own culture that, yeah, we might not know that much about yet. So I am also curious about learning more from our guest speakers.
Yeah, I'm sure
and
I can.
trust me, we have a lot of nice guest speakers on the list.
Yay! Yeah, I'm sure I can learn so much from our guests and also from you, Amanda. It was gonna be fun. Yeah. Let's
I'm sure I'll also learn more from you about Korean culture, and and every week, well, not every week, every episode, every episode, we will talk about a different topic. Can be anything from politics to makeup, from public transport to learning languages, or like
food.
National holidays.
Yeah, holidays.
Food.
Yeah,
who doesn't love some good food? So
Exactly.
topics for everyone.
Yeah.
And where can you listen to our podcast, Jiyong?
You can check out our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and other podcast apps, and also YouTube channels.
Yes. So if you want to see our faces while talking on this podcast, then you can check out our YouTube channel. You can find the name of our YouTube channel in the description of the channel that you're listening on right now. And yeah, I think that's all we have to say right now for our pilot episode. The next episode, we will talk about Dutch and Korean stereotypes. We have asked people to let us know what is the first thing you think about when you think about Dutch and Korean culture and people. And we are going to discuss the answers in our very first episode.
Yeah.
Also, if you have some nice stories of your own, or if you want to be a guest on our show, if you have any tips or comments, don't be afraid to reach out to us. Yeah. Anything to add?
Yes, please join us, and I hope you will enjoy our podcast. And yeah.
Thank you for listening, and yes, see you in our first episode.
See you soon. Bye bye.